Funk Master Flex was on the radio about 2 weeks ago, just going off and calling you a liar. Yeah. What do you say to that? What really happened?
You got to be on drugs. You got to be on some type of medication. Because everybody in New York knows what happened. I mean, so Nas is lying.
Yeah. Ha! Yeah, I'm so special, I'm so special, I'm so special, so special, so special. I'm like Ichigo, master in a red suit. This my Bankai form, I'm about to let loose. Better make your next move your best move. Straight out the gate, niggas gon' hate and try to test you. Watch who you with, who your mans, who you next to. If you take a hit with son assist like a nephew,
you can never check us. Homie, this a chess move. Wrote this on a little short bus, I'm so special. If Mav say get him, I'ma get him. Ain't no talking when I pull up. Park up, hop out, run down with my hood up. Now what the fuck are you hating for? Can't DFG get money anymore?
Turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rapper.
Alright, we back. My expert opinion, the greatest show in the world. We here. This is gonna be a very, very, very special episode for everybody that's been watching all this time. I know you guys are in love with the hip hop stories, especially, you know, the stories that take us back to the 90s, the early 2000s. This is going to be one of those stories that's like, wow. You've been seeing this guy make moves internationally. He went from prison to politics. We got Shyne in the building.
Happy to be here. I brought a little warm weather with me from Belize. Nice. It's warming up a little bit. It was brick when I first came. But
it's a beautiful day. Yeah. It's a beautiful day. Yeah. Now, I was trying to figure out how to start this, but I think I want to start with is Nicky Barnes really your father?
No, my pops is the former Prime Minister of Belize, a gentleman by the name of Aydin Oliver Barrow. So that was just a play on words. Because, you know, obviously it's interesting, you know, Nicky Barnes was a snitch, and you know, the hallmark of my existence was not cooperating with the district attorney. And, right. You know, that's how I became a legend in New York and all throughout, you know, where people know me is for not cooperating. Right. And Nicky Barnes is a snitch, right? But right. He was getting money. So right. as a young kid, you know, because I think I did it with Alpo. I said I'm Alpo before he snitched, dog. So I was very mindful of, you know, the code. But yeah, Nicky Barnes was getting money. You know, he was getting a lot of money. So you know, it was a play on words. You know, that I was born in the drop, and you know, blame Nicky Barnes for hitting my mom's the condom pop.
Right. How did Mr. Barrow feel about that? I mean, I can't imagine being a prime minister.
Well, he wasn't prime minister at the time.
Right.
And we didn't really have a relationship at the time. You know, that's a relationship that has evolved over time. Best relationship that we've ever had currently. But at that time, he wasn't really in my life. And I said as much on the Godfather Buried Alive album, the Bob Marley song. And, you know, I said it in a bunch of interviews, just what it was.
Right.
When did you and your pops get back together?
You know, I think when I released the album in 2000, somewhere thereabouts, you know, I was living in my truth, and so when I would be asked about it, you know, it was the typical, you know, Daddy wasn't there, and that's what it was. I think it was a little bit more harsh than that because it was harsh, you know.
Right.
It was devastating. But I think, you know, like when the album came out, it was about to come out and all the press surrounding it. I think he reached out to me and he was like, you know, I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. You know, you giving me what I deserve. You know, media's asking me to comment. I don't have anything to say because, you know, everything you're saying is true, but I don't want nothing from you. I'm just telling you, you know, I'm proud of you and I love you. And, you know, and from there we
started building that relationship.
Yeah.
So speaking of lyrics, songs start from scratch. You said if I start from scratch, I sign the Def Jam.
Hustle with Russell, a couple of million in advance.
Nah, fuck what I'm saying. Puff the best man.
No, that was the original.
Oh, the original one?
Yeah, me and Puff got into a fight over that at the Hip Factory because the original was, if I could start from scratch, I signed the Def Jam. Hustle with Russell, a couple of million in advance. And that leaked.
Oh.
Yeah, he went crazy and we almost got into it.
How did that leak?
I don't know how.
The way everything leaks back.
Nah,
it was
somebody
Mace,
around you.
It was Mace's session, so I don't know how that happened. And then I changed it to, you know, now what am I saying? Puff is the best man.
But fast forward today, if you could envision all of this stuff that happened, would you have signed with Puff or Def Jam?
Nah, I'd still sign to Diddy. You know, we can't listen. I give facts. Whenever I talk in truth. So it's just like my documentary. We can't talk about me being the next prime minister of Belize and all the great things that I'm accomplishing without talking about the dark spots, without talking about, you know, the failures. So, you know, let's not forget who Diddy was.
Right.
Let's not forget what he gave to the culture. Right. Let's not forget how great he was as a businessman, as an entertainer, as a producer, as everything. You know, he was Black excellence at a certain point, and he did a lot for the culture. It doesn't mean that where he's at now, you know, is not a dark place, and where, you know, victims are concerned that their allegations should not be, you know, looked at as it is being done in a court of law. Right. You know, but that's for the judge and the jury to decide. But yeah, so in retrospect, with even though he snitched on me, even though he sent people to testify against me, you know, I made the right choice in the sense of the information that I got from him, the genius, you know, the powers. I'm a sponge, I'm an absorber. And so, you know, being around great people, great minds, you know, that's how life functions, right? We need each other. You know, every great person got tutelage from another great person. Right. Every great person, you know, studied somebody else's playbook. Kobe studied Jordan. You know, I'm sure Phil Jackson studied somebody. Right. Pat Riley studied somebody. So you know, feeding off of people and getting the blueprint, getting the manual from, you know, the great ones. And he was the greatest at that time. There was nobody bigger and better than BADBOY Records under Diddy. He had like maybe 10 number one, like, he had the entire top 10 of the pop charts at one time, either as a producer, either with his songs or other artists' songs. So you couldn't escape that. Right. And I got the information that I was supposed to get, that I still carry with me today. You know, in the way I manage my business and in just that manifestation, just that will, always willing myself forward in the most improbable circumstances. Against the most insurmountable odds. You know, that's that hip hop conviction, you know, but he was one of the, you know, epitomes, one of the quintessential that, you know, brought that to the table as far as that confidence that we have going from, you know, creating something in the lamppost, Cool Herc coming from Jamaica and doing the sound system, and everybody saying it was just a fad and we wasn't gonna go anywhere. We've willed ourselves here into this multi-billion-dollar industry that dominates the world.
Mm-hmm. But you had that energy early. Like, you, when you think about where you came from, the circumstances between your father and your mother, the country that you came from, getting over here, still getting shot. You know what I mean? Coming from point A to point B, you had that will to put yourself in a better life very early.
Indeed. You know, Belize is very similar to Brooklyn. You know, no disrespect to any other borough.
Here we go.
Early.
Brooklyn.
You know,
calm down.
Get off.
Here we go.
Brooklyn is its own, you know, state.
Brooklyn that's fine. You can say that. That's fine.
Yeah, Brooklyn is its own state. We live in our own world, and our world is, you know, we're so confident, and we just know, but that comes from when you're faced with insurmountable odds, when you're faced with, you know, the statistical odds of death or an early grave or going to a jail cell, spending the rest of your life in prison, and having to navigate all of that. You know, we're talking about George Bush era, George Bush 1, H.W. Bush, Oliver North, Iran-Contra, how they used, you know, Freeway Ricky and all of these, you know, Mickey Barnes, I think they were all working for the CIA. You know, so crack cocaine was being trafficked in our communities as a part of a network of dark money to fund covert wars and to overthrow governments and all these different things. And how we took that and created the death rows, you know, with Harry O, and created these companies and used our circumstances, which were dire, to paint pictures, have poetry that took the world over. You know, that's a manifestation, because we weren't meant to do that. We were meant to all be addicts. We were meant to just be destroyed. Like, there were people deliberately trying to destroy our communities. So yeah, and Brooklyn is the embodiment of that confidence, and Belize as well. You know, I got a lot of that from Belize because, again, I grew up not having a toilet system. So, you know, there's a anchor. I'm not sure what news station he's on. He just met me in Brooklyn when I was going to see my cousin, and so we were talking about the outhouse, which is, you know, you use the bathroom. It's not even a toilet; it's a bucket.
Right.
You know, and you use that, and then, you know, he said that he had a person that used to take it. I said I used to take it as a kid. I used to have to take the bucket to the canal side. So to go from that, and to have that experience of that nothingness, of poverty, extreme poverty, and just hoping and just praying. You know, I don't think you'll ever meet a Belizean here in America that doesn't have a level of confidence. And I think all Caribbean people, you know, got that level of a conviction and certitude, because, you know, the opportunities that are here in America, when we go back home, you know, we don't really have that. So when we get here, we see food and everything is lunch, right? Because when we were there, it was nothing. Right?
My family from Barbados.
Yeah. You know, I have family that migrated to Belize from there, because my name is Barrow, and so there are a lot of Jews.
My sister's name is Barrow.
Jews that you know, because Jews are not what we think are European. You know, Jews are all different type of ethnicities.
One of the first temples is in Barbados.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Barrows were the Baruchs, and there's a whole story on that. You know, how they changed their name to Barrow to integrate because of persecution. So yeah.
Well, let's take it back to the early days of your confidence. Running around the streets of Brooklyn, you decided to be an artist. When we first heard about you, it was $1 million deal already in play.
Yeah.
But the rumor was you sounded just like the notorious B.I.G. How did you feel like that? Was that intentional, or was that just...
I mean, how do I sound right now?
The same.
Right.
You know, so for me, it was nothing, because I knew who I was. So it was just a matter of being who I was. And I think every artist that comes into the game is compared to somebody.
Right.
So obviously, having a baritone, being from Brooklyn, you know, being Caribbean, you know, there's a lot there to attach, and you got to attach people to something.
Right.
You know, there's been, I'm not the first, there's been many artists that come out, oh, she sound like so-and-so, he sound like so-and-so, he remind me of so-and-so, and then being signed to BADBOY, you know, with B.I.G., you know, being the superstar of the label, you know, but then Black Rob got a baritone.
Right.
You know, just, you can't help your baritone.
But the
So
Brooklyn
me,
background...
I mean, I can't help where I'm from,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It is
Do
what
you
it is.
think Diddy signed you because you sound like Diddy?
Diddy signed me because Chris Lighty and Leo Khan was offering me $1 million. Diddy signed me because Jimmy Iovine was offering me millions of dollars.
The bidding war.
So that's what, no, but that started, they started that. Diddy didn't start that. I rapped for
They
Diddy.
started the bidding war first.
This is what I'm trying to tell you. When I rapped for Diddy, Mark Pitts put me on the phone with Diddy.
Shout out to Boston.
But before I met Mark Pitts, Foxy Brown manager met me in the same barbershop. This is so ironic. I've never seen the show before, so I didn't even know This was a setup, but this is where it started. I was just telling somebody, you know, once you barbershop hot, you're out of here. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Right.
I've never heard that saying before. That makes sense.
It's rap, at least I don't know the rap game now. I don't know what these kids are doing. I don't even know if they rap anymore. I don't know what it is. But back then you had to be nice.
Right.
You had to be nice. Like there was no gimmicks. There was no, you know, as far as, you know, I remember. You know, remember the sauce. You know, your 5 mics. That's why I said, keep your 5 mics. Just give me the cane. Yeah. Because, you know, they was brutal. Like if you wasn't nice, they was shooting you up. Bang, bang.
This
like,
man, wait, I have to say, I don't know if this was before or after the $1 million, but this man was at Mr. Chow on 57th Street every night eating.
Yeah, I was doing my thing.
Every
I was young
night.
Does that mean you was there every night?
I was there every night. I was there every night, but I wasn't paying. That's the difference.
I was there with Rollo and WAP and the whole crew. Yeah.
Yep, shout out to them.
But yeah, so everybody wanted to sign me. So it's like, don't remix it now that I went with Diddy and don't front because we got the receipts. Like, God bless the dead, Chris Lighty is really the one that triggered it. Because like I said, when I met Don Poole, managing Foxy Brown, he was working with Mark Pitts, and it was like this, right here, spitting.
Right.
And that same confidence, that same Brooklyn conviction. I just got shot a year ago, so I'm not afraid of nothing. And I'm trying to get something. I'm trying to go somewhere. Like I did that. I made them believe that this was fire. Even if I wasn't as nice as I thought I was, I thought I was nice.
That's right.
And when I was spitting that flame, they was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is it.
Right.
This is it right here. You know, and a lot of it is God's grace, but so Foxy's manager, Don Poole, he thought I was it. Then we went to my man Manny, who, you know, managed Future and Nicki Minaj and Keisha Cole. I rapped for him. He had a barbershop too. Because you know how the street entrepreneurs do it. You know, the barbershop is the transition to legitimacy.
Right.
But so everybody that met me thought I was nice, right? Nobody was, you know, thinking about no voice and no nothing. It was just like, and that's how I taught. When I was a young kid, my name was Shabba because of Shabba Ranks.
Right. Yeah.
The same baritone. I could sing Trillalo. You know what I mean? I used to know all the Shabba. I knew all the Shabba songs.
Right.
I'm glad you said that because I feel like that when I see stories on the internet, a lot of talk is about your accent, right?
Oh, they wild and like, bro, if I'm in Belize, how am I gonna talk like this?
It makes no sense.
But I grew up in Brooklyn. But I can't talk Brooklyn and Belize.
Right.
Like right now, if I start talking Belize, yeah. So when I'm young, this the way I'm gonna do, and this the how I get started, you're gonna be like, those people out there in America won't even understand what I'm saying. But it's not what they call it?
Cosplay.
Code switching.
Code switching.
You know, no.
It's just like English and
I'm a
Spanish,
Belizean American.
Right.
Like I got
Well,
rights.
you from Brooklyn, your next door neighbors from Jamaica, your other neighbors from Trinidad, down the hall you got the Puerto Ricans.
But
like,
listen, when I'm talking in Belize, I'm talking to the Belizean media.
People.
Right.
I'm not talking to y'all. If y'all see it, y'all see it. But my life is in Belize. Like, you know, I don't.
No, that don't make no sense.
Yeah.
That don't make no sense.
So when did the comparison start?
But but everybody wanted to sign me. Chris Lighty is the one that set it off. Chris Lighty, it was a few months of
Rest
me.
in peace, Chris Lighty.
Yeah, rest in peace to Chris
peace.
Lighty. It was a few months of me, you know, spitting for spitting for Sylvia Rome, spitting for this one, spitting for that one, spitting for Diddy. And everybody was like, yeah, you nice, but nobody was sending the deal over.
Right.
So it was a little limbo. And it was like from August to December when I got the call from Chris Lighty.
Right.
He was like, come down to Def Jam. So I went down to Def Jam, Varick Street, and he put on a acetate. That's what we called it at the time, it was acetate. He's like, this is new producer, Swiss Beats. Nobody ever heard of Swiss Beats at that time. And I went in, and he was like, yo, we're gonna sign the deal right now. He took me to Lior's office, I spit for Lior. He was like, you know, you're incredible. And that's what triggered it because I think they called Diddy because they're all friends. And they call him talking crazy, like, yo, yeah, you think you got it? Wait until you see what we're about to do to you. Because Def Jam was cold. And Def Jam was looking for that next superstar. This before, I think, Volume 1 that came out, didn't really do what it was supposed to do. I think, it's a great album. There's some things on there that, maybe could have been left off. But it wasn't Ho's best work. It wasn't Hard Knock Life. So they didn't have that dominance. X wasn't there yet. Red and Meth was doing their thing. But, they was transitioning. And Bad Boy was the holy
Gold
grail.
standard at the time.
It was the holy grail. So that's what they was, they was after finding the next great artist. So so that's how it really started. And then everybody, Jimmy Iovine, everybody started throwing crazy money at me. And then, Diddy flew me out to Los Angeles, and I spit again for him in person, him and J-Lo, and he was like, yo, I'm not even gonna hold you, let's just sign the deal, let's just do it right now.
So it seemed like a lot of your stuff was spitting, like there wasn't no actual songs.
Nah, it was just spitting. It just
That's what it was.
I did actually no. I did a tape over a bunch of Hov beats. And that's the whole story. When I ran up on Hov, we was in Metronome.
You say you
Metronome.
you
Metronome
about
was
a
a
gun
spot.
situation?
Yeah, listen. Yeah, I'm fresh off the streets.
Like, yo, you got your gun on you?
I'm fresh off the streets. And Hov is a hustler. He's kingpin. And he get money. And so we're not really rappers. Like so I didn't consider myself a rapper. I didn't make that transition. I'm still in the streets. And so that's how we talk. Like it was more figuratively than literally, because I wouldn't expect him to shoot me if he thought that it was trash. But that was just the level of confidence that I had in my work. So yeah, I did have a tape, and he threw away the tape. I ran up on him at 560 State Street.
You mentioned that in the doc.
And waited for him outside. Me and Manny.
When he threw away the tape in front of you.
No. Clark Kent, God rest his soul. Told us that he tossed the tape. And when me and Manny, my guy, Manny, great guy, big time film producer now in Los Angeles. So we were stalking Hov. We laid up for him outside, and he came out, iceberg, hat low, iceberg, sweater, jumped in the robe, and we was like, well, I was like, yeah, so what's happening? And he was like, yeah, it's all right. Rolled up his window and drove off. And I was like, no, but that was great for me. Because then that made me, I'm one of those people, I dig deeper and I work harder, and I'm going to show you, that didn't break me. That made me want to work harder and want to prove to everybody how great I was. And sure enough, once, I flew out to Los Angeles, Rockefeller came back, once they heard that I was about to sign with Diddy and everything was happening, and they saw me at the Grammys with Diddy, everybody came back.
What was that conversation like when you ran back into Hov after he frisbeed your shit?
The next conversation I had with Hov, there were two important moments with Hov. So obviously I would see Hov with Diddy because they were cool. So I remember seeing Hov when Volume 1 came out. Right, and we exchanged numbers. I think we was at the Streets is watching something he was doing. But we didn't really, flash back. But one of the greatest moments with Hov is when Bad Boys came out, and we was at one of them parties. I don't know where it used to be, Life or one of those spots. All of you, old timers like me. Kim could probably tell you, Damn.
See, you thought it was going to be us on this time. You thought it was going to be us.
We got to embrace the auntie vibes.
Yo, Shyne, that was some cold shit. That was some cold shit.
We old timers. We old timers.
That was some cold.
Oh my God!
That was
Right.
old.
We are. I'm embracing it. I'm good. I'm good.
We mature.
Right.
We're grown. We're grown.
So listen. So Bad Boys was playing, and this is when, Bad Boys just took off. Like that was the anthem. That was the song of the summer. Dropped in June, and that was it. And so we were moving through the crowd at one of those spots, and I'll never forget. He gave me a pound. He was like, "You got one." It was crazy. excuse my language, I don't know if you curse.
No, you
Yeah.
fine.
But you know, you got one. And so that meant the world to me to go from, and you know, rightfully so, like Hov is Hov. Hov has always been Hov.
Right.
He was always that guy without rap. You know, I remember the Ace Solos. I wore Ace Solos because of him. Those were like $300 boots. And I prefer to not eat lunch and go to school every day, not having anything to eat, and I have my Ace Solos on
Right.
to be fly, because that's what Brooklyn is all about. Brooklyn is all about being fly. And Hov was always that guy. He was always iconic. He was always ahead of us. He was always like, we would just listen to his raps. Like I said, even on Volume 1, when you listen to Imaginary Player, like you're just like, oh my goodness, like he was just always just so ahead.
Right.
So for somebody to be so ahead, so far advanced, to recognize my art after, you know, wanting to be a part of his organization, you know, that was a great moment. And we were cool, you know, thereon. You know, he came to see me in Rikers in the Maybach.
Right.
And, you know, never forget that conversation. We were talking about the next album, you know, because I did the deal with Def Jam. And, you know, he was explaining to me, you know, how Quincy Jones told him about, you know, I think it was Quincy and Mike, because, you know, he was cool with Mike too, Mike Jackson, God bless both their souls, how they made Thriller. We are literally sitting in where the lawyers have visits, because obviously they can't put Hov on the visiting floor, because everybody go crazy. So they would allow, you know, famous people that came to see me. Fat Joe, respect to Fat Joe, he used to always come and see me. They would allow famous people to meet me in the legal room, but the legal room still had a bar. So, you know, you'd be blind in your eyes, but we were having this conversation about the next album, and that, you know, we had to take our time, and that, you know, the album had to be great, because you don't get those shots in the sophomore jinx. And, you know, he was talking about Mike and Quincy and how they made Thriller. And, you know, every record had to beat the record as far as them making Thriller. So it's like every song had to be a smash single, and that's how they made Thriller. That's why it's 9 incredible records, and it's the greatest selling album ever. And so he was giving me that information and that knowledge. And even when he left Def Jam, you know, we stayed in touch, and he still wanted to sign me. When I got out, he wanted to sign me, and he was about to sign me, and then this record with DJ Khaled leaked, and my voice was gone. I just wasn't me. I just didn't have the energy. I didn't have the electricity. I was beaten from 10 years of incarceration. You know, 10 years of incarceration is like being shot and you're bleeding out, but you're trying to get to safety. And it's not until you get to safety that you realize that you're ripped apart and you got holes all over you.
Right.
And you might really die, but your adrenaline carries you to the point of safety before you die, or, you know, God bless you, you survive and you get treated. So being incarcerated, that's why I call the second album Godfather Buried Alive, because I was dead, and I willed myself
Back
into existence, and I willed myself to keep going and to not succumb to the grave. And that's how I got the deal with Def Jam. That's how I was able to shoot the video. Me and Benny Boom, I just seen him, he's doing something for Busta Rhymes. And I just seen him and Busta, another great guy, you know, came to see me in Belize when I got out. We shot the video in Clinton Denimora Maximum Facility. You know, my faculties were so sharp. I said, listen, y'all gonna come see me like y'all doing an interview. And we're gonna shoot the whole video like I'm doing the interview. But I'm gonna be spitting the song. And the guard didn't even understand what was happening. He thought we were in there shooting a video.
Right.
And that's why you see me. I see you, Ma, on your $1,000 weave, masterpiece, Rolex on your sleeve. But yeah, so you know, I will myself into being alive. But when I got out, it was like the finally I'm safe.
Right.
But I'm still bleeding. I'm still hurt. And I didn't take the time to make sure the doctor, you know, stitched me up, to make sure I got, you know, whatever treatment I needed to get.
Right.
And I tried to, you know, just go right back into the booth. God bless my brother. You know, I'm surprised. You know, I deal with policy, public administration, so I wasn't creatively involved in the documentary, but I definitely asked him to talk to hip hop, which is my guy. You know, Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was the A&R for Rockefeller.
Kiyama.
That's my guy. But you know, some people might not know who hip hop is, but hip hop is one of the greatest A&Rs ever.
His big brother.
And him and G Roberson came to Clinton Denimore. That's what I'm telling you. You know, you can't be nice twice. You had to have already been nice. So it's like, you know, everybody wanted me when I first came into the game, and when I was in Clinton Denimore, everybody was coming up there. They was calling me Dr. Dre. Everybody wanted to sign me again.
Right.
But G Roberson and hip hop came to see me, and they wanted to sign me to Interscope. But I didn't do the deal. Obviously, I did it with Def Jam, but I stayed in touch with Hop. And as soon as I came out, Hop came to Belize and built a studio in my penthouse, and set everything up. And you know, that's when he had Nicki Minaj, and I was like, Nicki Minaj, like, what's that?
What's that?
What is, he's like, yo, she's nice. Respect to Nicki. I don't want Nicki. I love you, Nicki. Nicki's a Shyne supporter. She loves Shyne. She talk about Shyne. Respect her. That's my Caribbean sister. But I just didn't understand like what was happening.
You were just coming out.
Just coming out. So I was like, you know.
Well, you had to have some clue because you.
No, she would. This is.
She's just getting started.
She just.
We gonna sit here and act like, hey, come on.
When you just coming
you
out,
was dissing people while you was locked up. You knew what was going on.
No, but she wasn't around.
Right.
you think
the
the time frame he's
2004.
talking about?
All right, we moving ahead. Can we
around.
rewind a little bit? And can I ask you what inspired the 50 Cent diss?
You know, big respect to 50 Cent. Big respect to him. I think I said it on another podcast. I carry no envy, no malice. You know, he didn't send anybody to testify against me and put me in jail for 10 years. So I have no reason to have anything against him. And even the people that did that to me, I have no malice against them.
Right.
But the 50 Cent thing was a Murder Inc. thing. And again, you know, there I go, always catching strays from my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, Gotti was my guy. Respect to Gotti. You know, I still have super love for him. You know, an interesting story about Gotti. When I was rapping for Leo Cohen, Gotti was dead. And Gotti's Hov's guy. And so I told Leo the story about Hov. I was like, yo, could you believe Hov ain't want to sign me and he threw away my tape? And I was like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with him, but we gonna sign you right now. And Irv was probably looking at me like, this nutcase, like, what's wrong with him? But Gotti ended up, you know, being my guy, being a great supporter of mine. Because, you know, once the Shyne album dropped, anybody that had any doubts or any concerns, you know, I think once the BADBOY song dropped, and they see me in Jamaica, you know, doing what I do with the throwback, you know, and just the eyes, and you could feel it, you could see it in the nostrils. You saw what it was, and you felt the record. I'm not rewriting history here. This is what, you know, the greatest have told me. Like, you know, I remember the first time I ran into Fat Joe. I think we were at All-Star Weekend in DC, and his whole team, Pistol Pete, everybody's like, yo, Commission, that's our anthem. That's all we listen to.
Right.
You know, like I won over, you know, even my harshest critics, you know, with that album. So fast forward to, you know, developing a relationship with Gotti. So Gotti wanted to sign me. And, you know, I was big on the street code. I didn't sign to Gotti. And, you know, they were alleging that, you know, 50 snitched on them with, you know, when they poked them up in the Hip Factory and all this other stuff. And that really, you know, 46-year-old Shyne, that's none of my business. I'm not picking sides, whether it's Trump or whether it's Harris. I don't get involved in nobody's business.
Right.
But, you know, young Shyne, you know, those are my guys. I'm a street guy. You know, I didn't cooperate. So anybody that I hear is cooperating, I don't want nothing to do with them.
Right.
And that's how that happened. You know, because 50 tried to sign me. Shaw Money. Shaw Money XL.
Shaw Money XL.
Yeah, he tried to sign me. That.
Wow.
Absolutely. He'll tell you. They wanted to sign me to G Unit. But, you know, because of the relationship with Irv and then the allegations, you know, as to, you know, paperwork or whatever, you know, I was, you know, on my OG thing, and you know, certain things I just couldn't be a part of, and I took that on myself, you know.
Do you think that was a mistake, looking back now?
Nah, that's who I was. That was my truth. You know, I stood for what I believed in. You know, when you're sitting in there with guys that are serving life, and you know, that's how I felt. That's how
You
I
was
felt.
crashing out. You went at the game. You went at a lot of people.
Well, no. We got to do the timeline. There was no game 2004. The game, we got to do the chronology. So the 50 was Behind the Wall. That was me and Clinton Denimora. I rapped that song over the phone. So that was 2004. And actually in 2004, Dr. Dre called me personally to do a song for the game, because I hadn't been doing records with anybody. I just did the deal with Def Jam. You know, I was on fire from Behind the Wall. So everybody wanted that first record. But then Manny, my guy Manny, who discovered Keisha Cole came and performed in Reconciling before she was anybody. When I Changed My Mind remix that I ended up doing for her came out, so I had to make a choice. I had to either do a favor for Manny on this new artist, Keisha Cole, or a favor for Dr. Dre with this new artist, The Game, who they said, you know, a lot of people said sound like
the
me.
one that bailed you out?
Manny's the guy that bailed me out.
So
who people said, you know, Game got that Shyne voice and that, you know, whatever. So Dr. Dre reached out to me to do that record. So The Game wasn't even in the crossfires at that time. The Game didn't come until like 2012. You know, when you know, I guess I would say I made a mistake about Kendrick Lamar. I will admit to that. You know,
You take that back.
I think that was definitely a mistake. I'm not choosing sides. I think Drake is nice. I think Drake is incredible, and Lamar has obviously proven me completely wrong. But everybody got it at the time. You know, everybody was ahead of it. But I was dealing with whatever I was dealing with, and I didn't understand it. I didn't appreciate it. But he's obviously proven to be, you know, one of the greatest musicians, you know, in our generation. So definitely that's one I take back.
Your time Behind the Wall, was it harder going in there as a celebrity than a regular inmate?
You know, I remember my first night at Rikers Island. I had to put somebody to bed, and everything else was just good from there.
It's smooth from there.
It's good from there.
How about when you went upstate?
And you know, my cousin Ron Dogu, God bless his. Well, I'm saying God bless his soul, not in the way of he's passed away, but just God bless him. He's my brother more than my cousin. God bless him. I love him. He's still here. That was like my hero, and he was a you know, just a real OG, and he always taught me to be the aggressor. So he always, you know, surviving in Brooklyn, it's like, even if you're gonna lose, you swing first.
Right.
You know, even if you're gonna lose, you're gonna get beat up every day. If you attack and, you know, you are the aggressor, you know, people are gonna get tired.
Yeah.
Right? But if you don't do anything and if you let yourself get aggressed, then, you know, it's just gonna keep going. So it's better to get beat up once than to get beat up every day. And if you're an aggressor, if you just come out and you just, you know, I'm not in that space anymore, but I'm just reliving, you know, I don't promote violence, you know, go to authorities, you know, law-abiding citizen. If someone, you know, does anything to me, I'll report it, you know, to the authorities. I'm not promoting any type of violence where I'm at in my space. But at that point, you know, it was all about self-defense and making sure that, you know, we set the tone. We're not going to do that. Nobody's going to ever think that, you know, you're going to violate me or you're going to disrespect me or put my life at risk. So we had to get that established very early.
Right.
And so thank God that, you know, once we set the tone, you know, and it wasn't about existing by imposing fear or projecting intimidation, because I was always a good guy, always. Even when I was living in Brooklyn and I was coming up and I had to do certain things to survive, I was never a bully. I was never somebody that took advantage of other people, but I would never let anybody take advantage of me.
Right.
So I existed and I controlled things, you know, in my tier in Rikers Island, you know, by being a good guy, by always, you know, looking out for everybody. but the tone was already established. So people knew it was on the other side. So if, don't go there, because if we go there, we're going to go there. And,
let's keep it what it is.
I was still more in that mindset of Brooklyn, Vietnam. And, I hadn't transitioned to the evolved gentleman that you see now. So for me, those guys love me. And then the most important thing to those guys is that I stood, 10 toes and I didn't cooperate, and they loved that. They loved that because, nobody does that, especially now. But even back then, it's tough to have millions of dollars, to have your entire career, and to be on some death before dishonor. Like that never happened before. Not at that level. Like you gave up everything because you wouldn't cooperate. Like so yeah, I had whatever, because there's always somebody that don't know, and you got to educate them. But and then especially when I did that, then it goes like shockwaves, and they're like, yeah, see, we told you our guy. That's our guy, yeah.
Right.
And then
you become the champion.
Then the bigger heads that are in there, the lifers, the triple OGs, they're like, yo, nobody better, leave that guy alone. I wasn't trying to be a part of nothing. I had love for everybody. And then there were guys like, yo, he's our hero. Like what he represents, we got to protect him and we got to preserve him at all costs. Right. And so I received a lot of love being incarcerated wherever I went because, just what I stood for, the integrity, the character, the honor, I'm the last of a dying breed. So people really appreciated that.
So what made you convert to Jew?
Before we even get there, because that's a whole nother conversation. Because it seems like people that leave Bad Boy, they just go straight to God. Like
Mace, a loom.
Something's going on there. But before we get there, was there ever a point that any of your success, coming from where you came from the Our House story, and then pushing, 750s and living the most extravagant life, did it ever get to your head? Did it ever start to just alter or blow your ego out of proportion?
Oh, absolutely. But when you asked me about Judaism, I didn't convert. Like I told you, Barrows, Baruch, those are Jews in Barbados.
It's a bloodline thing.
Yeah, and my heritage comes from Portugal as well. The Lindos, so a big Jewish family from Portugal that migrated to Jamaica. But Judaic belief is that it's a faith. Like you can be Arabic and you can be Christian. It doesn't mean that you're Muslim. I know Christian Arabs. So Jews aren't a race because I have many Jewish friends. So we were having dinner last night. I was having dinner with a Lebanese Jew, with an Iranian Jew, and with a Jew that's from Poland. So those are all different races. So being Jewish is not a race, it's a belief. Unfortunately, it has been attached to maybe one race of Jews. And so we see that as what it means to be Jewish. But if you go to Yemen, if you go to Ethiopia, you'll see Jews that look like me.
The Falashas.
Remember, no, they're Jews.
Yeah,
it's not any special. They try to separate us by using those names, but they're Jews. They're full-fledged Jews from David. They have the Solomonic. They had the Ark in Ethiopia, and remember the 10 lost tribes as well, which is a fact. This is not that Times Square Israelite. This is just a fact that there are 10 lost tribes. So that tells you that there are tribes that are all over Africa. There are tribes that are maybe in Asia. There are tribes in India. There are tribes all over. Right? So it's not a race. It just so happens that I guess the two tribes that survived all of the destruction, the death and destruction, happened to, they fled. Remember, Israel is in Africa.
Judites and the Levites.
Yeah, but Israel is in Africa. Egypt is Africa. Don't believe that Europeanized, distortion of facts. Right. Egypt is not the Middle East.
That's a fact.
And Israel was a providence in Egypt. So when Moses left Egypt and led the Israelites out of Egypt, they went to Israel. But so my spiritual journey began before I got incarcerated. And I tied it into you asking me about things getting to my head. I started praying in Brooklyn because bullets were whistling past my ear and friends were getting their brains blown out right next to me. The toughest guys. And, I faced mortality. I faced the frailty of human existence. And I was like, man, if the toughest guy that I know just got his brains blown out, he had his ratchet on him. That's what you used to call weapons. You're taking me back to my young Shyne. Then what am I going to do? How am I going to survive this? And so religion in my life had nothing to do with Bad Boy. I was always spiritual. I prayed my way out of Brooklyn to getting, a multi-million-dollar record deal. That was all prayers. I started praying before I got shot. I kept praying after I got shot. I prayed my way to getting a record deal. Like I'd always had a divine connection. And notwithstanding that divine connection, there did come a point when I signed my deal to be an 18-year-old kid and get $1 million, more than that, 1.5, 2 million, just $1 million. Be 18 years old and go from having nothing. I remember we were so poor, there's a sweet milk called condensed milk. We used to put it on the bread. And used to put sugar in water. And I'm telling you facts, right? I never had my own bedroom. My bedroom was the living room. I slept on the couch. And so when company would come over, I had to, fold up my sheet and my pillow and put it in the closet. So I never even was able, my friends couldn't come over, we couldn't play video games, nothing. That's how I grew up. So to go from that to being a millionaire, that was a lot. So, and that's how I got the name Poe. Rollo will tell you, because Rollo and Wop, they used to hang out with Alpo. And I had that bravado, that swag, because I came from nothing. Like nobody believed. People told me, oh, you're not gonna make it. Even my mom's, you heard her in the documentary. She's
go
like,
to college.
Go to school. Go to college. Yeah, she was like, what do you, she started crying when I told her I was dropping out of New York Tech. Respect to New York Tech in Brooklyn. She started crying, like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? And so despite all that, despite my pops not being there in my early years, despite, harsh poverty, I became a millionaire, right? Because I did that. Nobody felt sorry for me. I stopped the guy in the barbershop and started spitting for him.
Right.
I started spitting for my barber every time I go there. I manifested that. I wanted that, and I worked for that, and I went for it no matter what anybody said, right? And then I got that meal ticket, and that was it. I bought the 600 sedan. I, bought the Rove, the Double R, bought the Platinum AP. You could ask Jacob about me. I'm the first rapper to get an Arden RPK. People didn't even know what that was. I had I don't even think it was platinum. I think it was titanium.
The watch was a thing. I remember the watch was a big thing.
AP, and I had the platinum Rolex, and everything. Like that was the kit. That was the starter kit. But I had to go further. I had to get the AP.
Right.
And so it was a lot. So yeah, I had my ego was oversized. But I think most rappers, that's rap.
So that line you said, I should have copped the 5 instead of the 6.
Yeah,
that was a real situation.
Absolutely, because that V12 is nothing to play with, man. If you can, so there was a time of oversized ego, inflated esteem, which is hip hop. So it's a balance, But what I learned is keep that on the record, keep that conviction, and keep that swag on the record.
How did you learn that?
How did I learn that? So. The entire 98, I spent the entire 98 young, dumb, and full of. So I was living my best life, You know, I was dating the pop superstars. You know, one of my friends, she had the biggest album and song that year. She was that person. And so we got into an argument because I was so gone. Like I was dating Diddy girls. Like, you know, like one of his main chicks.
Knowing it was his chick or not knowing?
No, that's just, yeah.
Oh.
No, but listen,
that's
you
a
know.
special thing going on over there.
No, listen.
That could play a part, Shyne.
No, he said, the world is filled with, you know, that was the song that he,
Right.
B.I.G. You know, he chose me. Like, that ain't my fault. You have that conversation with her.
Right.
You have that conversation with her, but that's how gone I was because strategically that was a bad move.
Right.
Because you don't date the boss's girl.
Right.
Absolutely not.
You know, because you're there to get money with the boss, and you know, let's get money together, and you know, and I wasn't even quiet about it. Like I was like, yeah.
Wow. You think he kept some animosity for you?
No, he never said nothing. But you know, you could feel it.
Right.
But me and him wasn't really interacting like that because I was in my own world. I thought I was the boss.
Right.
I thought I had $1 million. He had like 40 million. But I thought I was the boss.
What about this
Because
situation?
my million was like 40 to me based on what I came from.
Right.
So that's where I was at. Just to give you context of where I was at. So the end of the year is like the end of the year. And I have an argument with this one of the most famous, you know, musicians, females. I get into an argument with her. And she's like, you ain't nobody. Like, who are you? Like, I shouldn't even be talking to you. Like, you ain't sell one record. Like, what are you doing? You think blah, blah. And it was like the hand of God just slapped the life out of me. Because she was telling the truth, right? She was telling the truth. So all my karma, you know, that was my karmic moment. Wow. And I needed that, and I thank her for that. I really appreciate her for that because that changed my life. Because it hit me, and it woke me up.
Was that the end of your relationship?
Kind of. You know, we cool now. Like when I see her out, you know, we'll hug each other, and you know, we'll be in touch. But
Who was it?
You'll see in the documentary.
I saw it.
You saw it? Okay. All right.
I mean,
Let him watch the documentary. Let him watch the documentary.
Dude,
Why you do that?
You saw it, cut it out.
And I ain't say nothing.
Right.
That's the
But
point.
listen, anyway, so that changed my life because there was nothing I could say, right? Because, you know, she had her own money. She had her own millions. She was famous and sold millions of records and, you know, TV shows and movies and everything. And then I'm like, yo, you right? I didn't tell her that. I was like, whatever, click. But I was like, yo, she's right. Like, what am I doing?
Right.
And then a part of my introspection was like, it was ego driven as well, because like I gotta show her. She ain't never gonna talk to me like that. I'm gonna sell my million records, and you know, I'm gonna do everything that I ended up doing. Obviously, you know, my career was cut short, you know, due to the incarceration, you know, but I made my mark. And she helped me get into perspective what I was there for. I wasn't there to just be driving the Rover and to be, you know, wearing the iceberg and the you know, Coogee sweaters and Moschino and whatever was Versace and all those things back in those days, and just being fly and just, you know, spending money in Mr. Child's and you know, living that life. I was there to make great records. I was there to have my impact on the world, you know, through music, and I wanted to show her. I wanted to show everybody, and she really helped me through those very brutal words to get focused. And I was like, okay, that's it.
When I asked you if it went to your head, there's some people in New York that feel like you became infatuated with a persona, which led to the case that you caught, the shooting in the club, you know, everything that happened between you and Puff, and you feeling like Puff betrayed you. Funkmaster Flex was on the radio about 2 weeks ago, just going off and calling you a liar.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
He
What
gotta
really
He
happened?
got to be on drugs. He got to be on some type of medication. Because everybody in New York knows what happened. I mean, so Nas is lying when Nas said, "I don't like the way, Diddy did Shyne with different lawyers." Come on, let's not rewrite history. Kim was there.
Right.
My XXL covers, Death Before Dishonor, the Vibe Juice issue. Everything that I'm saying now, I said then. While the trial was happening, people were like, damn, they doing Shyne dirty. Like, but I couldn't say anything until the trial was over because, we didn't want the jurors, I was like on a gag order from my lawyers. But Flex, you got to put Flex in the context. This is a guy that talks crazy about Tupac, talks crazy about Jay-Z, and now he's talking crazy about me, and there's absolutely no facts to corroborate what he is saying. It is the victim that is saying Puff shot her. The victim said Puff shot her way back then at trial. I said, when I was able to talk, that he did me dirty. He called the most damaging witness to testify against me, even though we begged him not to do it. Wolf begged him not to do it. Everybody said, don't do that. You're gonna bury him. And he did it. And I've been saying this for however long you could go back to my first magazine covers, but then the loudness of his celebrity, the loudness of his iconic status in entertainment, nobody would listen.
Well, let me ask you this,
Nobody would hear. And as far as a persona, I got shot before I met Puff. I was on the streets. He met me. Listen, when I got my deal, I was staying. He had moved to Park Avenue and he had a crib next to Al Pacino, on like 36th Street. I was in the crib with a shotgun because I had already been shot.
Right.
And I just got money and I was still, fearing for my life because it's real in the cotton field.
Right.
So there's no persona. I come from that. Church Avenue, East 18th, Flatbush, Little Haiti right now, Newkirk. We used to call it New Crack. That's where I come from. I don't come from, a suburbia or Canada, and I'm here trying to pretend of a. Puff was projecting a persona. Puff is not from that. He was the private school kid, who went to Howard and who dropped. And there's nothing wrong with that, as far as being a good person, being educated, and wanting to be entertainment. But it was entertainment for him. For me, I came from that, and I was trying to get out of that through music.
Right.
And then we had a shootout in front of Daddy's house, where, there was an incident with me and some people, and, my guys were there, and, shots were being fired both ways.
Were those people associated to you before the Bad Boy deal?
Yeah, but I'm talking about Daddy's house. We're not talking about Club New York.
Right.
We're talking about Daddy's house. There was a shootout 30 days before the Club New York incident in front of Daddy's house. It's recorded. It was like maybe 2 months, sometime late October. And that's when I started carrying a weapon because I had to keep going to the studio. And, I didn't have any security guards and I wasn't going to report it to the police.
Was that the Junior Mafia situation? Yeah.
Basically. And me and the Mafia, we cool now. Caesar's in the documentary, of course, and you've seen it. And, Rock and Rube and everybody, BK Rube. But, I was going to keep going to the studio.
Right.
And my motto was always be tried by 12 and carried by 6. So there was no persona.
Right.
That was the real, like whatever situation we had, like Rock could tell you, in that situation when it was happening, I swung on him. I set it off. So Funk Flex is out of his mind. And Rock is my brother. It's no problem. Rock is a stand-up guy.
Right.
10 toes.
Right.
But Shyne was never, some frail kid in the corner. Like, remember what my cousin taught me. So when it was about to happen,
You went first.
I made it happen. And they did what they did. You know, I think this is the first time I'm really talking about it to this extent. They did what they did, and that's when, you know, my guys, you know, started letting it off. And so that's a real situation. But, you know, Flex,
How did you
medication
feel?
out of
Because I
his
know you
mind.
heard it.
He's promoting the documentary as far as I'm concerned. That's promotion. You know, people. He said he's going to watch it. He said I can't wait for it to come out because I'm going to watch it, and then I'm going to come back on it. Hey, great. He's encouraging everybody to watch it. And
Because
then
he started off with "I love you, Shyne."
When he goes and he watches it, and then he's gonna come back again. That's more promotion for me, and he's gonna tell people how he feels, and people gonna see for themselves. But you know, I know my truth. Everybody knows the truth. Like in New York, it was gospel what happened for me. Everybody felt sorry for me. Everybody felt that I was done dirty. And like I said, you know, Nas said it in his rap. I didn't ask Nas to say that. And everybody that tried to sign me after signed me while I was going after Diddy. All those magazine covers with me saying that he's a snitch, he's a rat, he's this, he's that. And there was a time where the industry wasn't really pumping with him because of what he did to me. So that's a fact. So I don't know what. Did
it surprise you that there wasn't more of a backlash towards him after the like?
There was a tremendous backlash.
No, but more of one.
No, there was a tremendous. He was ice cold for a minute. He couldn't even come outside in New York for a minute. But then people got over him. Right. And you know he's resilient and he reinvented himself and he built those relationships.
So maybe that's the question I'm asking. Did it surprise you that people were able to get over it to the extent that they did?
You know, that's life. You know, you see, I don't live in those moments. I continue moving forward, and I've learned that to count on myself because people are always going to disappoint you. You may even disappoint yourself if, you're not disciplined enough. And you're not focused enough. But the closest thing you're going to get to certitude is yourself and God. Human beings, you're setting yourself up. Your risk management is not on point if you're going to rely on human beings. So I was at a point where I didn't expect anything from anyone, and I understood that, you know, don't dismiss or don't not expect the worst from people. So for me, it wasn't like, you know, well, how could you even interact with this guy when you know? It's like, you know, I could go over and over again as to the people that I told about him, and they still, you know, for maybe it was business, maybe it was politics, whatever it was, because we have mutual friends that, you know, that still were my friends, but still remain cool with him, even though I said all the things that I said, even before we reconciled. But that's their issue. And for me, you know, I never wanted to say to anybody, well, you can't be my friend if you're his friend.
When did y'all reconcile? Because I think that I seen a picture of you guys at like a fashion show overseas.
Yeah, the Kenzo fashion show. So there were two fashion shows. There were two reconciliations. There was a reconciliation in 2012 when I was living in Israel. And you know, I went out to Paris to see him. And funny enough, you know, Cassie talks about this in her lawsuit, where she says, you know, he would do whatever to her and then try to cover it up by spending, you know, wild money on her, taking on these, you know, shopping sprees. And so I saw that. I didn't see the allegations, but I saw in Paris, he dropped like $500,000 one day, you know, just spending it out. And so when I met with him, it's like, yeah, you know, it was the lawyers that, you know, made me do that to you, you know, my bad, I should have never listened to those lawyers, et cetera, but we're gonna make it right now. So I'll be honest with you, my idea of making it right is, you know, I thought I was gonna get like a $10 million check, you know, the next week. No, he's a billionaire.
Right.
And listen, you know, Flex could say what he wants. Flex is the only person. It's like one person out of everybody else that you hear talking crazy like that. But he could say what he wants. I've always maintained I was defending myself. And even if Diddy shot the woman, he would have been defending himself. But I made a choice. The same way I made a choice to defend myself, I made a choice not to cooperate with the district attorney.
Right.
That deserves gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That deserves, they're not guys like me anymore. You look at Tekashi, you look at all these guys, everybody telling.
They're folding
Everybody's telling.
like laundry.
And I could have told. Even if I lied, I could have said, yeah, you know, he had the gun, he gave me the gun, he fired the gun, he did it like this, and he aimed like that.
Right.
Just
He would have been the bigger cat.
Just let me about it. That's what they wanted.
Right.
I went to the DA called me in for a proffer. And you know, you asked me, so, you know, what happened? I was like, you know, I was defending myself. So what was Combs doing? You know, I didn't see what he was doing. Did Combs have a gun? I don't know. I didn't see him with a gun. Did Combs fire? I didn't see him. You're wasting my time. Get out of here. 13 years. That's the plea deal I'm going to give you. Or you got to cooperate. You can't change that.
Right.
You can't, nobody, there's nothing you could do to counter the fact that I could have cooperated with the district attorney, and I didn't.
Do you think that the way that he treated you is going to be a discouragement for anyone that could keep their mouth closed to save him now?
Well, let me tell you this. While, as I said, so when we reconciled in Paris, I was expecting a $10 million check. Even if you wanted to give me $1 million and then do $1 million every year, you know, for the next 10 years. You know, I just calculated you're a billionaire. You know, come on.
Right.
You know, come on. That was the least. And so, you know, I remember chasing him down, and I think he sent like 50 racks. And I was so offended. I was like, oh man, that's it. This is crazy. I just see you spend $500,000 on your girl, and like, you know, this is your comrade that saved you so that you could be able to be in the position that you are in.
Right.
Right.
And that's what you think it's worth? I'm good. And that's when I went at him again, and I started talking crazy again. And then we reconciled in 2019, 2020, and that reconciliation was a strategic reconciliation as far as me letting go of all baggages, me ridding myself of the cancer of frustration and hate and fury and bitterness and trauma, and making sure that as I try to soar to these higher heights, I didn't have these ton of bricks holding me down. So I already knew there was nothing gonna come from that, no money, no nothing, but it was okay. You know, for me, it was about Belize. It was about, you know, using my network to promote and market Belize, get people to invest in Belize.
Right.
And so that one was on me. That was, you know, I don't need nothing from you,
Wash my
Chad.
hands.
Don't need nothing from you. We good. Whatever you want to do, you do. Whatever you don't want to do, I'm all right. And so, yeah, so everything, as far as even the decisions that I made, I've accepted accountability for my decisions, but not because I decided to defend myself and defend you, because everybody could say what they want in hindsight. It takes 1 second for a bullet to pierce one of your vital organs and for you to go. 1 second. So looking around for security was not an option when I just got into something, you know, 60 days ago.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I even have my weapon, because, you know, it's real in the battlefield.
Right.
So I was taking no chances.
Right.
And it's documented that Scar and all these other people were saying, I'm gonna kill you. And this idea that the problem was with me, Scar's out of his mind. That Nino, Scar, those are all my guys from Brooklyn. Those are my friends. We were cool. There was absolutely no problem. And again, the argument, now all the witnesses are lying. Everybody's lying now. Everybody testified that, you know, Diddy was arguing. The guy threw money in Diddy's face. And Diddy was arguing, and people were looking at him like, yo, let's get up out of here. And he refused to leave. He kept going back and forth. And then Scar was like, yo, I'm gonna kill you, yo, Shyne. You with him? I'm gonna kill you too. And that's when he pulled out the gun, and I pulled out my gun. And that should have been the story. There was no need for Diddy to call a witness to say, oh, you know, we were trying to leave the club, and Shyne just pulled out his gun and started shooting. We were all trying to tell him to stop. Because even today, in all that I'm saying, I'm telling you that if Puff fired a gun, if he shot the victim, he was defending himself. Because we were not the aggressors.
Well, some foul ass securities that night. Everybody had a gun in the club.
Was Gene there? Was Gene
Well,
there?
he said,
I don't remember Gene being there, but there were 3 weapons fired that night.
right.
That's crazy.
Right? There were 3 weapons fired that night, and they never took the fragments out of the victims. So we don't know who shot the victims.
Right.
The victim saying Diddy shot her, right? And the bottom line is, I never said Diddy shot anyone. I just said I was defending myself. But he called witnesses to say that I wasn't defending myself. That basically I was just acting like a cowboy in the club.
So
And
I
that
talk-
wasn't
hold on.
true.
Hold on, I talked about this case a lot over the last, 20 years or however long it's been. The actual charge, right, that you went in on,
It was attempted murder.
was it?
Yes.
I wanted to clear that up because I think people are confused with that. And I also, right, because I do know that she testified that. Like she testified, Natanya Rubin is her name, I believe?
Yes.
She testified that it was Diddy, no?
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people were confused with that over the years, that's what actually, that she said. And even I read somewhere, and I don't know if you could, if this is part of her testimony, that she said that to the surgeon that night.
Yeah, she did say that.
And that was, a lot of people also have not referenced that as well, that's what she said. The media maybe focusing on different things probably took the story in a different direction.
Yeah.
But what were the charges?
The charges that I got convicted of?
Yes.
I got convicted of reckless assault. And that's why that...
You got convicted of reckless assault.
Reckless assault.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
For
That's what I
depraved,
wanted to clear.
depraved
Depraved.
intent.
Indifference.
So, yeah, depraved indifference. And so this is the point. That's why that witness was so key. But, fast forward now, I'm in Belize. I was elected to the House of Representatives.
How do we fast forward that?
I was elected in 2020. And, because I spent... Yeah, but again, I used my time. Remember when I got out, I was deported.
Right.
And so I spent those 13 years soul searching, fixing myself, getting myself right. Went to Israel, spent a few years there, realized that, religion could be something great, could be something terrible, and I prefer to be spiritual. I prefer to be a humanitarian. I prefer to focus on humanity. I don't want anything that's going to separate us.
Right.
So if you being a Christian helps you to be the best version of yourself, I'm with you. I'm not going to be preaching to you what you should do, because being honest, having integrity, being compassionate, being generous, being honorable, that has nothing to do with anybody's particular religion. Those are all character traits that we have as human beings, and we need to focus on doing that. So whatever helps you to become that person. So when I left Israel, I went to Paris. When I was in Paris, Jay-Z would come to Paris, perform at Bercy. We'd go out to dinner. Drake would come. Even after I was going at Drake, we reconciled, and he came and invited me to the show. We went to dinner. Nobody was saying, yo, why don't you sign a deal to OVO or to Rock Nation? And so there's a friend of mine you saw in the documentary, my guy, Jeffrey, who, respect to American Eagle, they own American Eagle, who said to me at one point, like, I think you need to forget about being a rapper, and you need to focus on being an entrepreneur. You need to pivot. You have so much more to give. It didn't sound like that when he told me. I don't know if you've ever seen the reel where the guy, they do an intervention with the guy who's head is bald, but he still got the dreads to the side. Right? I was that guy. You know, I was
Let it go. Still holding on.
I was holding on. I was like, I got it. What are you talking about? It's just a matter of time. I just need some more time to get back. Like, what do you mean I'm not Shyne? Like, I had not known anything other than being Shyne.
Right.
Even as a religious, ultra orthodox Jew, I was still Shyne. I was still rapping. I was still, you know, I had the AP. You know,
You was rapping in the doc with the hat on and all of that.
you know, but I got to give Jeffrey credit for that, because while, you know, I rejected it when he told me, and I was devastated. I was like, old girl, when she told me I hadn't sold a record, not one. I processed that. And then I started thinking. And, you know, I really did some introspection. I was like, you know, like, what is actually happening? Like, Hov comes to Paris and he's not like Sound of Rock Nation. Drake comes and it's respect. It's tremendous respect for me. But nobody's saying, yo, let's do this.
Hit the studio.
And I'm like, is the universe speaking to me? Is God speaking to me? And I got to give credit to, you know, a family friend who, when I went to Belize for my mom's 60th birthday in like 2013, you know, she was like, you know, what are you doing out there? What's going on? She's like, man, you know, why don't you come back to Belize? You know, your world experience is going to be very important for us. You know, you should get into politics. You should go to law school. This, you know, because everything's about to change. And I know, you know, you could be like one of the great leaders of our country, because all the old guys are going to retire. I don't even know how she came up with that. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Right.
I was just going to see my moms. But when I would go to Belize, I would visit, you know, the constituency that I represent and other places, other impoverished places in Belize. And so when she said that, you know, it clicked to me that, you know what, you're right. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? And this was always who I was in my music. You know, Dear America was me advocating on behalf of inner city people, inner city youth, being their voice. In that first intro, and throughout all my records, when I say, you know, black people don't own no ports or boats, so tell me how we getting all this coke, right? Talking about Iran-Contra and you know, George H.W. Bush and, you know, people that created the system. So to now be where I'm at as the opposition leader of the House of Representatives, next in line to be the Prime Minister of Belize, I am the system. I am the state. And so I am creating the solutions for that young Shyne. So this is
full circle.
This is the full circle of all full circles, right? And that's what I care to focus on. I you know, we spent so much time talking about what is obviously in the headlines, but my life is so riveting even without that. But I don't want to be disrespectful to your audience and to your platform and be like, oh no, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about this.
I appreciate that.
So I try to share, but we could have an entire conversation about being the Prime Minister of Belize and the last, you know, 11 years and that journey, because I've been involved in politics for the last 11 years as a community activist, you know, vice chairman of the constituency, and I built where I'm at today, but that's gonna have to be another time.
I see. I know you gotta go.
Trey, hold
But the
on.
Honorable Shyne is out.
I know you have to go.
Yeah.
I just want to
I
say,
haven't even eaten today. 'Cause I've been,
me neither. However, I just wanted to say, like, what I'm seeing in your life is full of, like, between the pivots, the validations, and a level of extremism.
yeah.
When you were in the streets, you did it all the way. When you went to jail, you did it all the way.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the streets. Religion, all the way.
Yeah.
Politics, all the way. You do it as an artist, all the way. But then you have these moments of, like, validation that have to be super satisfying when the people who told you it wouldn't happen, you proved them wrong. The people who
Same thing with
believed
politics.
you. But that's what I'm saying.
telling
That's
you,
why I was getting.
people in politics said, how is a deportee? How is this criminal? This criminal. Meanwhile, you know, I defended myself.
Right.
Politicians are the worst criminals as far as stealing people's money, stealing the public's money. and betraying the trust of the public. That's the worst type of crime, is white collar crime. But I got to tell you, you spoke about some important of extremisms. I'm coming, Bree. Extremisms. To be honest with you, I am the most balanced I've ever been in my life. And that is because of politics.
Even though you live in the office?
Yes, no, but that is not an extreme in the sense of that is part of my balance.
Okay.
So my balance is, as a leader, I got to build consensus. As a leader, as a democratic elected leader, you're not a dictator, you're not authoritarian. It's not just do what I say. In Shyne's orbit of an entrepreneur, of a mogul, yeah, you got your staff, but if they not, following procedure, you're fired. Get out of here. If you don't think the way I think, you don't see it the way I think, I don't want to work with you. You have more power and more control to make and mold everything in your image. But in politics, everybody's a leader. And to be the prime minister, I need 16 seats. So before I became leader, my campaign to my colleagues was, we're equals amongst leaders. So I'm not here, to be King Shyne. I'm here to be the prime minister, and I need us to all be the great leaders that we are. And that takes a lot because, I have a vision. I'm very certain, I'm very convinced as to where I believe we should go, but I've had to learn over the last couple of years to talk to my comrades, to talk to my brothers and sisters, and even if I know I'm right, still get their input. And that's very healthy, and that's very necessary to be a great leader, because I'm not leading myself. I'm leading everyone, and ultimately I'm serving people. And, if you don't eat macaroni and cheese, I shouldn't give you rice and beans. I think as a great leader, I should find out what it is that you need, what it is that you want, and try to marry that with what is responsible and what you're in need of. And so I'm more balanced than I've ever been because, I used to take some extreme foreign policy positions. And I've completely changed where, I follow our national hero, George Price, he's national hero of Belize, one of them along with Philip Golson, and he was the first prime minister. And when we got independence, they asked him, well, what's going to be your foreign policy? He said, we're a friend to all, enemy to none. I'm only concerned about Belize. So I'm more balanced than I've ever been. And I hope, my parting words is I hope that what people can get from this documentary is the entire journey, all the ugliness, all of the pitfalls, all the failures. There's some things that I wanted to edit, like the part with like Game and
Big Boy
and Big Boy. It was I was cringing. I was like, but that's a part of where I'm at now, where I can say, respect the game, respect to everyone, and I have nothing with everyone or anyone, even Flex, thank you for promoting. I appreciate you. And I just hope that people can see that we're all resilient. But resilience, you have to find it, and it's there to be found. Life is not easy on whatever level. If you're on the bronze level, if you're on Barack, I remember Barack Obama was like the most hated person in America, at the same time the most loved person in America. That's life, right? And being able to manage that balance, understanding that I appreciate, the warm weather because it gets cold. I appreciate the dry weather because it rains. It sounds so simple until you're in hell, right? But we have to go through hell to get to heaven. And my last thing is that everyone has that indomitable spirit. Everyone has that invincibility. They just have to find it. And that's what I hope the documentary shows them, because you talk about validation. There were so many times people thought I was done. There were so many times throughout my life, before I got on, when I got on, when I went to prison, when I got out of prison, the last couple of years, and I've been able to always triumph over the doubters, the naysayers, the detractors, but I'm not special. We all have it, because where I was, like I'm telling you, people say, I never thought I'd see you in America ever again.
That's what I wanted to say. Look, politics was a smart way for you to come back over.
But it was not deliberate. I spent the last 11 years working
cultivating
my
that.
people, because America could decide whatever they want. They don't got to let you in their country.
Right.
They ban people and tell them, listen, you come for 2 days, go to the UN and get out. We don't want you here.
Right.
So being a politician doesn't guarantee anything. But I just, so sharing, that's why it's timely. I'm not, we worked on this 2 years ago, and the time is right to share this triumph, to celebrate the success. My life could help Puff for what he's going through.
Right.
For him to reform, for him to rehabilitate, for him to find his resilience and to keep going and to transform himself. Right. And I pray for the victims, and I pray that they, get their justice. And if he's innocent, I pray that he gets his justice. Last thing, gotta visit Belize. Everyone has to visit Belize, the most beautiful place on planet Earth.
Is that an invitation?
Is that
It's
an invitation?
paradise. I'm inviting. It's an open invitation. It's paradise. Whether you love the beaches, whether you love the rivers, the Maya temples, whether you love diving, we got the Great Blue Hole. Just come visit. The food is incredible. The people are beautiful and warm and welcoming. Everything is great.
How can the people see the documentary?
On Hulu, November 18th. On Hulu.
Thank this man for his contribution.
Thank you for your contribution. I do want to add,
Because we didn't even talk about the album. See, that's why I want to get this out the way, because they're going to be more. We're going to do more things. We're going to do a memoir. We're going to do a motion picture. We're going to do a scripted series, because what I want to focus on is the artistry. The music.
Right.
Talk about how great the music was and how to get to making great music. And I want to talk about Belize and the tourism and how you could come down there and invest. Respect to my guys, Earn Your Leisure, Troy, and Rashad.
Shout out on your leisure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm shouting another podcast.
No, they've been here.
Apologies.
They've been here. He sat in that chair.
Yeah,
They've been here.
Apologies. But yeah, talking about investing, the space I'm in as a political leader, I want us to embrace that and celebrate that, and that's liberating for our youth here in the Caribbean, wherever, to show them there's a different pathway. Right? They could be the president of the United States. They could be the prime minister of Belize, no matter how poor, no matter how downtrodden, no matter what you're going through. And that's what I want the focus to be, right? So when I come back, I'm not talking about no Club New York. I'm not talking about nothing. We're just talking about celebrating the greatness and giving the information how my, comrades, brothers and sisters could, get their excellence. All right. Thank you, guys.
appreciate it.
Trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rapper.